Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss Degree 4th Sem Unit 5 poem My Last Duchess written by Robert Browning. Let's have an overview of today's video. So in today's video I am going to give you the complete explanation of the poem and then question and answers according to the examination model. So one answer, one essay type answer I have solved for you students in the prescribed examination model, how you have to write it in the examination model. Hope it will be very helpful for you. Okay, first let us talk about Robert Browning, that is a poet. Before we talk about the poet, I always tell you to discuss the pre-reading questions. So the first one, list the qualities you wish your spouse to have. So when you grow up and in future, I think all of you are going to get married. So already you might have some ideas about the qualities you wish your spouse has. Okay, so I think you can discuss what are the qualities you would like to have. Both the boys and the girls have to discuss. Then how many of the qualities you listed above do you yourself have? Okay, in your spouse you are expecting some qualities, but do you have those qualities also? You have to discuss. And the last question, how should one resolve conflicts in a relationship? Any human relationship, be it wife and husband or brothers and sisters or uncles and aunts or parents and children, there will be a scope for some kind of conflict or difference of opinions. So how are you going to resolve them? These are very, very important questions, students. You all have to discuss. Okay, even if you don't discuss in the class, you just contemplate, you just think over these questions. Now we talk about Robert Browning, that is the author. He was born in 1812, then died in 1889. So he belonged to the 18th century, that is 19th century. After 1812 years means 19th century. He was one of the most well-known poets of Victorian England. So that time England was ruled by Queen Victoria. So he belonged to that era. His works reveal a strong belief in individualism and morality. So he believes in human values. Browning wrote many poems on relationships between men and women. Those days, the society had some strange kind of norms. The men used to dominate over women. So there was a total patriarchy. So he used to write about those kind of relationships. He was a master of dramatic monologues, and My Last Duchess is considered one of the finest examples of this form of poetry. So this is a dramatic monologue. Monologue, I think you all know, that is one single character speaking or giving a speech. Though there will be many characters involved in the speech, but the speaker will be only one. That is called as monologue. And if two people are involved, it is called as dialogue. Okay. The entire poem is a speech uttered by the Duke of Ferrara to the envoy of a count. So I'll explain you what is meant by a duke and the envoy and then a count. Okay, these are the orders of people in the royal family whose daughter he desires to marry. The duke shows the count's emissary a portrait of his late wife. So a count's representative envoy came there and the duke is talking to him because he's going to get married to the count's daughter. So he shows count's emissary a portrait of his late wife. So portrait means, I think you all know, it's a picture, a painting of his wife. As he talks about the dead duchess, we learn a great deal about the kind of person he is. So we are going to learn about this person, the duke. Okay. So let us move and let's understand what are these duke and all. These are the hierarchies in the ruling organization. Like first it will be the king, then comes the prince, then the duke. Duke, he is a British nobleman holding the highest hereditary title. So the title is passed on to the family members outside the royal family. They don't belong to the royal family, but they form an order in the hierarchy of rulers, ranking immediately below a prince and above a marquess. This is also a kind of order. Okay, a member of the highest rank of British peerage. Peerage means the hereditary, okay, or the hierarchy. Peerage means the noble person, they are aristocrats. Okay, so then after Marcus comes Count, then the emissary. Emissary is the envoy or the representative of Count. So this is the order, students, you have to remember. And the wife of Duke is known as Duchess. That's what we are going to learn now. So he is the Duke and he belongs to a city called Ferrara. So that's why he's called as Duke of Ferrara. Okay, now there is a note to the students, they want you to understand something. You learned about monologues in unit 2. A dramatic monologue is a monologue in verse form, like as if they are talking to somebody. It's not poem like thing, but it's like a verse like thing, verse. Okay, in such a poem, a single speaker or an invented character, and it's not the poet who is speaking, a character speaks to us, delivers a speech to someone present at the scene of the poem. And the listener stays silent throughout. There is a listener, but he or she stays silent throughout. But their presence is made obvious through the lines of the poem. The monologue is spoken at an important moment, that is the dramatic moment. My last Duchess is, for instance, is spoken when the Duke of Ferrara is negotiating the terms of his second marriage. All of you hope you are understanding. Now he is going for a second marriage and is negotiating. So imagine students in those days also there were some conditions for the marriage, arranged marriage especially, so that they would discuss all those conditions. So a dramatic monologue is essentially a clever character sketch in verse. The speaker discusses a particular topic, but the speech always inadvertently and indirectly reveals the person's true nature and character. The person doesn't speak about himself, but as he speaks, we understand that person's nature. That is the meaning of dramatic monologue. Monologue, students. Monologue means one single speaker talking. Now let us move on to the poem My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. Ferrara means he's the Duke of Ferrara, he is talking, student. Who is giving the monologue? The Duke of Ferrara is giving the monologue. And he's talking to a convoy, or sorry, envoy. That means a representative of the count. Count's daughter is going to marry, and that is second marriage, students. So let's dive into the poem. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder. Now, Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. Will's please you sit and look at her? I said, Fra Pandolf by design, for never read. Hope you made some sense, students, out of these lines. I know poems are very, very difficult to understand. You need a lot of contemplation, thinking, and all. Okay, that's my last Duchess painted on the wall. He says, last Duchess. Duchess is his wife. And he says, last. That means there is some order going on, okay, on the wall, looking as if she were alive. All of you focus on this word, students. Alive means you think she's alive, but she's not alive. Okay, I call that piece a wonder now. So now this painting has become a wonder. Okay, he's not talking about the lady in the painting, but he's praising the painting. So, and he calls it as a piece, and it's a wonder, it seems. Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day. Who worked? This is the painter. Fra Pandolf is a painter, very famous painter and very popular painter and very expensive painter. You pay a lot of money to call these painters and get the paintings done. Like how we have MS Hussain and Ravi Verma and all, they are very, very expensive painters. They do a lot of wonderful work. And he says, look at this, hands worked busily a day. He didn't say Fra Pandolf worked, but his hands worked busily a day. And there she stands. Out of his hard work, the painting has come over there. Will please you sit and look at her? Can you please sit and look at her? He arranged a chair also there near the painting, and he asked this representative or the envoy to sit and look at her. I said Fra Pandolf by design. Why do you think I'm mentioning the name of the painter? By design. That means deliberately I'm mentioning the name of this painter so that you will understand the importance of the painting. Okay. For never read but to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you but I. So you think everybody can see this painting? No. Only I have drawn the curtain. Always it is covered by a curtain, and I just wanted to show to the people whom I want. That's why the curtain I have drawn for you, but I. Okay, only I can show you the picture or the painting. So here you will see the a kind of dominant nature by this duke, okay, and seemed as they would ask me if they durst. So I think durst means the people dared. uh, it appears to me as if they are going to ask a question. If they are really dare enough to ask me a question, they ask this question. Means the people whomever I show this painting. How such a glance came there? So not the first are you to turn and ask this, sir. So he's telling you are not the first one to ask me that question. How that glance means how beautifully the painting is has been drawn and how that facial expressions are there. So here he is imposing the things on the viewer student. The envoy may ask or may not ask, but he is telling he only asking on behalf of the envoy and he only is answering. So that tells a kind of imposing nature of the Duke. So you are not the first one to ask. There were many people who wanted to ask me how that glance came there in that painting. Sir, 'twas not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek. So he is of the opinion that only the husbands could make the wives smile, or they should smile only before the husbands. So, but here he is not happy, he is a little bit upset because her husband's presence only, it was not her husband's. It's not my presence which brought that spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek. Perhaps Fra Pandolf chanced to say, her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much. So mantle, he says, mantle means dress. The painter must have taken courage to compliment my lady, that my duchess, he says. So he says her dress is very long and it is covering the lady's rich too much. Or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half flush that dies along her throat. Or he might have also told that my paint or my brush is not enough to bring that half flush, that means that smile. It is spreading to her throat, and that dies. Dies means it's the meaning is, yeah, mantle is dress or shawl, and dies means actually faint, fades. Okay, that smile is fading along her throat. So he says, my art is, my skill is not enough to reproduce that kind of smile. So these are the compliments maybe Fra Pandolf has given to my lady. This is all a suspicion of the Duke. He's telling that you think the smile is not because of me, but because perhaps means maybe the painter has complimented her, and it was courtesy, she thought. So she is not that kind of a lady who maintains dignity. He says all those compliments were courtesy and cause enough for calling up that spot of joy. That's why she might have smiled. So he is of opinion that only husbands should bring smile on the wives' faces. Student, that was the kind of society in which he was living. Robert Browning was living, and he was in Italy when he wrote this poem. And Italy, that the period of Renaissance, where these kind of norms of society were going on. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad. So what type of a person you think she was? Her heart, how shall I say, he's as if he's searching for the words, you say, too soon made glad. She was the person who gets happy at tiny things or small things also. Very soon she can be made happy. Too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. So whatever she looked on, she used to like, and everywhere means she used to look on every person. That's what he is telling. He is a little bit jealous here and is a little bit suspicious here. Her looks went everywhere. That he did not like it. So it was all one. So everything was same for her. Okay, my presence was same to her, did not make any difference. Whatever she looked, she liked, and wherever she wanted to go, she went. That's what. It was all one, means equal. My favor at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west. So my favor. Favor means here it's a gift, a very precious gift he has given to her, and she's wearing them. See, you can see here she's holding that gift in with her fingers also. So the very precious, very expensive gift I have given, but it was equal with the dropping of the daylight in the west. She used to enjoy the sunlight, sunset also in the same manner. So the gift was same, and the sunset also she used to enjoy. The bow of cherries, some officious fool. So one fool or officious fools means officious is a person who tries to impress unnecessarily. There will be intruders and they go on flirting people. So actually is a flirt. So that officious fool has given a bunch of cherries, broke in the orchard for her, the nearby garden. Orchard means fruit garden. He just broke that bunch of cherries and he has gifted to her. That was also equal with my expensive gift. Okay, the sunset, bow of cherry, which a fool has given her. Then the white mule she rode with round the terrace. Mule is the horse. Okay, that was a white in color on which she rode around the terrace. All and each are same for us. So there is no difference between my expensive gift, between the sunset or the bow of cherries given by a fool and then a white mule on which she rode. All are equal to her. This was not liked by the duke. My gift of a 900 years old name. Okay, what is this 900 years old name, students? It's a peerage. That means the hereditary, the family name they've been carrying for hundreds of years. 900 years name the family was holding, and that was given as a gift, it seems, to the lady. Otherwise she would have been a common person. She is welcomed into my family, and along with this great um, kind of prestigious award, he says. Okay, my gift of 900 years old name with anybody's gift. So cherries group, I mean a bunch of cherries was equal with this 900 years of old name. Who'd stoop to blame this sort of trifling? Okay, I don't want to blame because this is a small thing for me, a trifling. Even had you skill in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one. So actually you may ask me that why didn't you tell her that you did not like all these things? But I don't want to tell because he feels very egoistic here. This sort of trifling means he knows very clearly, students, look at his personality, okay, a kind of psycho personality. He knows that he is grumbling at very small things, but he is not able to accept. So remember your reading questions to know what are the qualities you want your spouse to have. So all these things, maybe some of you want to have it. So you have to introspect whether your wishes and your aspirations, how far can be accepted, okay, in speech. So even if you had the skill in speech, okay, in whatever fine manner you want to express this, of course I don't have that kind of speech to make your will quite clear to such an one, to that lady, you can make it clear and say just this or that in you disgust me, or here or this or that, really disgusts me, irritates me. Here you miss or there exceed the mark. Actually, you could tell all these things. And if she let herself be lessened so, okay, even if she agrees, how do you think she agrees or lessened or learns? How do you think? Nor plainly set her wits to ears, forsooth, and made excuse. Very truly, forsooth means um, truthfully, she might accept, but she made excuses. She would not accept. That's why I don't want to discuss all these things in front of her. Okay, it is a very stooping down, a kind of stooping down for me. In then, would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. So in front of a lady, I will never stoop and I will not express my views and opinions. That's what he says. Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her. Okay, whenever she looked at me, she smiled. But who passed without much the same smile? Whoever passed by her, they received the same smile. So there is no difference between the smile she gives to me and the smile she gives to others. This grew because it never stopped. This kind of nature, it went on and on and on. All of you students, if you start complaining about one thing, it will go on growing only. It will not come to an end. If something, maybe a small thing is irritating you, you have to try to forget it. If you don't forget, it will grow and grow and grow. Same thing happened with this lady to this duke. This grew. And what did he do? I gave commands. What commands he gave? Then all smiles stopped together. There are no more smiles. Means, what do you think might have happened? Look at this slide. There she stands as if alive. As if alive. That means she's no more alive. He ordered his people to kill her, and he killed her. That's what. So to this extent people can go, student. The jealous people cannot bear it. Even though this story, this poem was written some 200 or 300 years ago, it stands good even today. We find these type of people existing even in our society, students. So there she stands as if alive. Will's please you rise? First he asked him to sit and watch the painting. Now he's asking, come on, get up. Will you please rise? We'll meet the company below then. So he says, this is the plan, students. He wants to kill that lady, and now he's asking the envoy to stand up. We'll meet the company below. Company means all the people who came there to talk, the count's people, to have the negotiations with him, so that the count's daughter could be married to him, the second marriage. Negotiations are going on, so they are in upstairs. Now they want to go below and meet all the people. I repeat, the count your master's known munificence. Munificence. I know very well that your count or your master is very generous. About his munificence, I have already heard generous. Is ample warrant that no just pretense of mine for dowry will be disallowed. Remember, students, in those days also in the society, the dowry system was existing. Means the girl's parents have to give some money to the boy's parents. So that dowry system was there, and this duke is expecting a lot of dowry from them, and he says, your master is very generous. I know he will not say no to me. Okay, it's an ample warrant, means I know already about that. Maybe I'm pretending that I want dowry, and I know that even if I'm pretending also, it will not be disallowed. Your master will definitely give me handsome money. That's what he's telling. Means indirectly imposing all the thoughts into that envoy or the representative. Though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed at starting. So because his daughter's self means that girl, as I avowed means declared openly. I told very clearly in the beginning, is my object. Did you see this word, students? Object means she's not a human being. It is going to be his possession. Okay, as if some jewelry or some kind of artwork, that girl is going to be his possession. So at starting, I only made very clearly, once she gets married to me, she will be my object. You will now not have any kind of authority on her. Nay, we'll go together down. Come on, we'll get up, we'll go down. Sir, and as they were going down, his art gallery means his estate is complete, I mean filled with art pieces. He says, notice Neptune. He's asking him to notice one statue there, Neptune. Though taming a seahorse thought a rarity, this is the statue he wanted him to see. And the Neptune is the sea god, students. He tames the sea horses. though a rarity. This is a very, very rare piece. And who do you think is the sculpture? It is Claus of Innsbruck. This is the person who has cast in bronze for me. Bronze is the metal, you know very well, the yellow color metal. In bronze, he cast only for me. So here you can see here how he's bragging about his wealth. So he's indirectly he's warning the envoy also, be very careful. How I know how to tame the wild things. So here the seahorse means the previous wife or the would-be bride, the girl whom he is going to marry. So be very, very careful. I know how to tame them. So once I get married, they will become my possessions. As long as I want, I'll keep them. And if I don't want, I can just dispose them also. So there is an indirect warning, students. So this is the poem, My Last Duchess. You can see the patriarchal nature of the men here, how they treated women, and the oppression, how they wanted to snub the woman's identity. Women were not given any kind of individuality. So that's the poem, students. Now let us okay, actually, they say this is a true story, student, which has happened. This Duke is none other than Alfonso II d'Este, fifth Duke of Ferrara in Italy, and he was there in the 15th century, 1533 to 1598. He was the Duke, and he married a very young girl, a teenage 14-year-old girl, Lucrezia de Medici, Duchess of Ferrara, 1545, then 1561. So at the age of 14 years, he married her, and then after 3 years, he killed her. Means she died in a suspicious manner. They say she was poisoned, and the reasons you all know it. So that was the context of this poem. Why Robert Browning wrote this poem means he was there in Italy. After marriage, from England he went and settled in Italy. So there he was inspired by this Duke, and then he wrote this poem. So that is the background, students. So now we are going to do some comprehension question and answers. Okay. The first question is, who is the speaker in the poem and to whom is he speaking? Where and for what purpose have these two people met? So the speaker in the poem is the Duke of Ferrara and is speaking to the envoy, the representative of the count whose daughter he is going to marry. The poem is set in the Italian city of Ferrara during the Renaissance period. The action takes place in the Duke's private chamber where the portrait of the late Duchess hangs. The Duke of Ferrara is negotiating the terms of his second marriage with the Count's daughter. Second question, what is the significance of the statue of Neptune? The statue of seahorse mentioned in the final lines of the poem as being tamed by Neptune. Neptune is a sea god. He is a symbol for the Duke's late wife as well as his future wife. The Duke sees himself as godlike, thinking that his mere presence should be the only source of his wife's happiness. You remember that spot of joy in her cheeks. He says, for everyone, she feels happy. It is an image of power and domination. The statue is the last thing he shows the envoy, and this could be seen as a warning that he expects his next wife to be tamed, seeing as if he was successful in taming his last duchess. Third question. Why didn't the Duke tell the Duchess what he disliked about her? He could have told her very clearly. So the Duke did not tell the Duchess what he disliked about her because he thinks it would be trifling, means very small thing to do so, and talking about them would be like stooping down to her level. However, he expresses that it was disgusting to him. Though it was disgusting, he didn't tell her because it was below his dignity, he felt. Then the fourth question, what does the poem say about the objectification of women? How the woman were treated? Throughout the poem, the Duke of Ferrara reveals his belief that women are objects to be controlled, possessed, and discarded. In many ways, this reflects the thinking of Browning's own era, that is 18th century, 1812, when Victorian social norms denied women the right to be fully independent human beings. Through this portrayal of the Duke, Browning critiques such a viewpoint, presenting sexism and objectification as dehumanizing processes that rob women of their full humanity. The Duke's treatment of the painting reflects his treatment of women as objects to be owned. His description of the painting as a piece and a wonder. He doesn't treat her as a woman or a human being, he calls it as a piece and a wonder. Portray it as a work of art rather than a testament to a former love. By repeating the name of the painter, the famous Fra Pandolf, 3 times in the first 16 lines of the poem, he again implies that he values the painting because of his status as an object that shows off his wealth. So that is the respect he has given to the women students. Then yes, this is made even clearer by the fact that the Duke has placed this painting in a public area of his palace so he can proudly display it to his guests. There's no love between the wife and husband, whom he invites to sit and look at her, much like a museum curator would direct visitors to a famous work of art in a gallery. Such an attitude is reflected yet again when he tells the messenger that the Count's fair daughter's self is his object. The second girl, the second bride, is going to be his object. He intends to make his new bride another one of his possessions. Women in the Duke's mind are simply ornamental objects for men rather than actual people in their own right. And the last question, comment on how the Duke looks at, thinks about, or uses objects of art. The portrait of his late wife is clearly one of Duke's prized possessions. There are two pieces of art, students, that is the painting and then the statue, which he indicates when he dramatically removes the curtain concealing it and invites his addressee to gaze upon it. Symbolically, the painting has a complex function in the poem. On the one hand, it is a sign of the Duke's status as a wealthy patron of arts. Means he used to buy the paintings, spend lots of money on it. The Duke underscores this point when he name drops the painter who made the image. He takes the name of the painter. He further points out another one of his favorite works of art from his collection, that is a bronze sculpture of the sea god Neptune brutally taming a seahorse. It is an image of power and domination. So these are the 5 short answers, students. Now we move on to the long answers. The first question, which traits of the Duchess disgusted the Duke? What does this tell us about the Duke? So the Duke is upset that everything pleases the Duchess equally. She is too innocent and too generous with her approval and too easily impressed. He later says that her holding any kindness is equal, standing with his affection and his gifts disgusts him, though he refuses to stoop to tell the Duchess why he is upset. This you have to expand, students, because it is to be written in 300 to 350 words. So what all things she equalizes with his expensive gift and all, how he treats other persons, how she is so how she'll get happy easily and all. The next question I have written in examination style, students, so you can prepare with that. So write a detailed character sketch of the Duke of Ferrara. So detailed character sketch you have to write. First you have to write introduction. So in the introduction you write anything about the poem or the character of Ferrara, Duke of Ferrara, or the summary of a short summary of the poem you can write in introduction. So uh, my last Duchess is a controlling and entitled aristocrat who embodies toxic masculinity. He believes that his wife was unfaithful to him, which threatens his sense of power and control, leading to his eventual decision to have her killed. So this is a brief thing. Anything you can write. Then about the author, you all know. About Robert Browning, you have to write. In the introduction, you already in the first slide, you have already learnt about Robert Browning. Dates are very, very important, 1812 to 1889, and is one of the most well-known poets of Victorian England. Okay, this you can write. Next, you can write character sketch, the actual answer. First, you write about the toxic masculinity. Means he believes in masculinity and he tries to overpower women. Women have a very low opinion in his view, and then he disregards and he treats them as only objects. That's all. Then lack of empathy. He doesn't understand the pain of others, especially women. That you can write, okay? Too easily impressed and too soon made glad is not digestible to him. He doesn't like it. So this can be a nature of any person, but he did not like. He also describes a smile as something anyone could buy. So this is again a symbol of arrogance. Okay, lack of empathy you can write. Then arrogance. What are the examples of arrogance you can write here? That he doesn't value her beauty and social status over his feelings and personality. Then control. He likes to control and he wants his wife to be in his total control. She should be happy only in his presence, not in everybody's presence. So this obsession for control ultimately leads to the breakdown of their marriage as the Duchess can no longer tolerate the Duke's controlling behavior. She doesn't stop her behavior. So he goes to the extent of killing her. So manipulation, how he manipulates things, the way he talks also is a manipulative thing. Then appreciation for art and beauty, though he is so, very rude and arrogant, there is a sense of appreciation for art and beauty. So the two sculptures, the painting and the Neptune sculpture, you can mention here, students, how he appreciates the art. Then the conclusion. The poem, written as a dramatic monologue, shows certain traits of the Duke's character and allows the readers to see the world from the Duke's perspective. Or any concluding sentences you can write. So this is the structure of an answer you should write in the examination, especially the essay type answer, students. So hope you will follow it. So read the answers clearly and try to learn them. Okay, and the last question, what do we know of the last wife of the Duke of Ferrara? Considering the source of our information, how certain can we be of what we know? So, in the context of the poem, the Duchess is not much of a character in her own right. We do not know much about the Duchess, his wife. Only thing is, no, we try to understand her through his description. She functions largely as an object to demonstrate the extent of the Duke's possessiveness. So here we see her as his possession. Despite the Duke's many complaints against her, readers do not learn if the Duchess felt the same animosity towards her husband as he felt towards her. Animosity means hatred. He hated her. Whether she also hated her husband in the same manner, we do not know. Because the information the reader receives is filtered through the Duke, it is also unknown if the Duke's animosity is warranted. So we do not know the actual characterization of the Duchess. We can interpret from this poem that the Duke believed her to be unfaithful to him, as a spot of joy appeared on her cheek when Fra Pandolf, the portrait painter, flattered her. Whether he really flattered her, we do not know, but the Duke assumes. The Duke explains that it was not her husband's presence only which caused her to blush. However, it is also possible that the Duchess was only easily pleased, or as the Duke describes her, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. Either way, the Duke was highly displeased. This is very important word, students. Displeased that his wife did not seem to favor him. So these are the question and answer, students. Hope you understood the lesson clearly. And if you still have any doubts, please do not hesitate to put it in the comment box. Okay. So thanks for watching, and if this tutorial made sense, please do not hesitate to like, share and subscribe, because you always, I tell you, your liking is not for me personally, but just to please the YouTube algorithm. That's all. Okay. Thank you, students. Let's meet up in the next video. Bye for now. Take care.